Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei never killed by Raynare and got power early part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the JCT1345 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. Let's start this video. The young Issei was violently awakened from his sleep by the lack of oxygen and a smell of smoke. Ack. Issei was attempting to cough up a lung full of smoke. What's going on? Mom? Dad? Issei knew what was going on even though he wasn't, but 7 years old he knew that his house was burning down. He ran up to his door and grabbed at the knob, but it was too hot and burned his hand. He then began ramming his body into the door in an attempt to knock it down, but his attempt was fruitless. He kept at it however, until his vision began to cloud due to a lack of oxygen. Issei was prepared to give up and accept his fate, but he heard a voice. "Damn it, kid." The rather threatening voice said to him. "Do you know how hard it's gonna be to find a new compatible host, and here I thought I was gonna get a good 60 years out of you at least." Issei was confused and even more frightened than before, if that was possible. He did however work up the nerve to speak up to this unknown voice that seemed to be in his head. "Who said that I can't see you? What's going on? Are you gonna help me?" "Calm down, kid, geez. So many questions at once. As far as if I can help you or not, that's up to you. Look down at your left hand." Issei did what the voice said and saw a green glow emitting from the top of his left hand. "You see that hand I wanted? If you give that to me I can get you out of here alive." Issei nodded to what the mysterious voice said. "Good boy. And as far as who I am, they call me the Red Dragon of Domination." The voice announced, then a red flash of light filled the room, and when Issei looked back down at his left hand, there was a fingerless red metallic gauntlet with a green gem that flashed. "Boost." A voice that rang from the gauntlet sounding a lot like the dragon. "A partner, you may call me Drake." Issei was still utterly confused by the situation he found himself in, even though after that boost he felt amazing. He stood there hesitant. "Don't just stand there. Punch that wall." Issei followed Drake's instruction and struck the wall. The wall began to wobble and shake before it fell, opening Issei's room to the outside world where he made his escape. After Issei escaped his smoke-filled, he took a few deep breaths before making a beeline for the other side of his house. "Partner, what do you think you're doing? You need to rest now. Your body can't take much more." "I have to save my parents," he said with a pant to his voice, showing the fatigue his body was experiencing at the moment. "With your power I can break their wall down and save them." "Partner, that's not a good idea." Drake's words were cut short as the bright green glow emanating from the emerald on Issei's gauntlet and the gauntlet itself vanished into a red light. Issei then dropped to his knees as the stress Drake's power placed on his young body took its toll. Issei was left helpless but to watch his house collapse, sealing the fate of his parents trapped inside. "I'm sorry partner, but you aren't strong enough to handle more than a few seconds with the power of boost weighing on your body. I tried to warn you." Words of condolence passed through his young ears as he focused on what his partner had said early. "Not strong enough, not strong enough, not strong enough." Drake's words echoed in Issei's head. He was too weak. His parents were dead because he was too weak to save them. He let them down. They were dead and it was his fault. It was as if he himself was the cause of their deaths. Issei let out a roaring scream into the night sky while tears streamed down his eyes. As his cries echoed into the night sky, his left arm once again flashed red and his gauntlet reappeared on his forearm, but this time his fingers were coated in the same material the rest of the gauntlet was made of, and gold spikes protruded near his elbow. "Boost, boost, boost." His gauntlet roared, filling him with power, but he was too distracted by a combination of grief, shock, and pure unadulterated rage. "This host might just have some potential yet," Drake said to himself as he let his new power vent his frustrations. End of flashback. Issei's POV. "After the death of my parents, I moved in with my wealthy grandparents in Kyoto, where I attended school all the way to my first year of high school. At my old school I was part of both the Jiu-Jitsu and Taekwondo clubs where I attempted to train my body into a vessel that can support Drake's awesome power, but I also found myself developing a love for combat, not rivaling the hidden love I had for, but a powerful love nonetheless. I unfortunately in all my years of club activities. Since awakening Drake's power I have yet to be in a fight that challenges me. As a result I elected not to join one of the clubs at my new school, fearing the same outcome here, but Drake promised me that one day I would be in for the fight of my life against the wielder of the vanishing dragon." Back to the topic of why I was transferred here. My grandmother worried that because I didn't really have a best friend back in Kyoto, that the tragedy of losing my parents was making me an antisocial person. It's true that my parents' death has affected me, but the reason that I had no friends was that it was hard to relate to people. I mean, how many orphan dragon monsters are there in your school? But I have a pair of friends now whom I share a common interest with. They may be a bit less reserved about their passions than I. Unfortunately, I have been monologuing and kinda spacing out. What am I doing? Hi do. A pink-haired girl with an angry scowl and what appeared to be a vein popping out of her temple. You insist you're not a pervert like your two loser friends, but this is the third time that we've found you outside the kendo club's changing room. Explain now. Sorry, Kata-san. I was spacing out again, and those two must have brought me here again. I didn't see anything, I swear. Our protagonist answered while the back of his and gave the most sincere grin he could muster. Huh. Sighed Katis. I believe you, Haidu, honestly. Even if you might be a little perverted, I know you're not as bad as those two. This made Issei breathe a sigh of relief. Unfortunately for you, those so-called friends of yours pissed us off, so we're gonna use these kendo sticks to beat the crap out of you. She said this last part with a smile, but Issei definitely wasn't smiling because he knew they were completely serious. A few moments later, Issei was lying beaten and bruised on the ground as the kendo club gathered their things and began to walk away. Why do you let those idiots put you into situations like this, partner? Issei stood up, wiping himself off before he answered. I don't know. They're not bad people, and they're also the first real friends I've ever had. The final bells of the day rang, and school was dismissed for the day. Issei began his walk home, and the monologuing resumed. As I currently stand, I rank at about a mid-tier, because my balance breaker armor lasts around 20 minutes currently. I unlocked it around a year ago, but I've only ever used it when late to school. I feel as though it's kind of overpowered. I have yet to face anyone who can match up to me in my normal form, so if I try to fight someone with a balance breaker, I have no doubt that a fight would be over in an instant, but flying is incredible. The only problem is the armor doesn't come with a watch, so I'm always afraid to fly a bit too high, and my timer will run out. Issei was coming up on a bridge when he heard a voice call out to him, knocking him out of his trance. Excuse me. Issei turned to find a young girl with black hair and a sizable bust, dressed in a uniform of a nearby school. Excuse me, but it's getting rather late, and I'm afraid someone might attack me if I walk home alone. Could you please walk with me? Issei was surprised by how sweetly the girl spoke, but being the eloquent gentleman he quickly gathered himself and answered. Sure. Issei discovered the girl's name was Yuma, and the youths had a grand time talking as our hero escorted the beautiful girl home. Issei was so caught up in the riveting conversation he was having with the young girl that he lost track of where they were. Yuma, are we almost at your place? The girl turned around so that she was no longer facing Issei when she answered. Yeah, Issei, we're exactly where we need to be, but I have one question. Issei was confused, but before he could ask what she meant, he felt a wave of bad energy that he couldn't comprehend, but knew it was bad. He looked back to see if Yuma was okay, but he didn't see the girl he knew. Instead, a girl who resembled Yuma was standing in front of him wearing what appeared to be a black leather bikini and had two crow-like black wings. Could you please die for me? Her voice had changed to become something much more menacing, but Issei wasn't focused on that. Instead, he was distracted by the red spear that this girl had summoned out of nowhere. She hurled the spear at Issei's chest, which would have been an instantaneous kill, but Issei was quick to summon his gauntlet and block the girl's attack, resulting in an explosion. When the smoke cleared, Yuma got a glimpse of Issei's gauntlet. The boosted gear. No way, you were just supposed to be some mid-level sacred gear user. No matter what, I'll kill you anyway. Issei had just about had it. Alright, explains now. Sorry partner, I should have told you she was a fallen angel, but they have a reputation for being total sluts, and I figured you'd get lucky. This prompted a hey from Yuma. Well, I'm at it, I should probably have told you about being fallen by a devil, but this is more important now. I recommend Balance Breaker, being this is your first real fight against a supernatural being. I have no idea what you're talking about, and you can explain later. You said this is a real fight, so there is no way I want it to be over so quickly. I don't need a balance breaker. Issei responded. He then focused his energy into his gauntlet, resulting in boost, 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 boost. Issei charged at the fallen angel and was much too fast for her to dodge, delivering a powerful punch to her stomach. She reeled back and immediately knew she was outmatched power-wise and figured retreat was the best option. She vaulted into the air and propelled herself upwards at amazing speeds, but not fast enough. Issei bent down into a squat, then vaulted up much faster than Yuma could fly. He grabbed her by the wing and threw her back to earth, then landed gracefully near the crater he had created with his throw. He picked the stranger up by one of the straps of her bikini. Alright psycho, you're gonna tell me who you are, and what the hell you want with. Before he could finish his sentence, Yuma enveloped him in a deep kiss, which left the boy's mind racing at a million miles a minute before something rang out in his head. Something loud, almost like a warning. Your danger. Issei's instincts took over and he jumped backward, just in time. Yuma had summoned a glowing red spear that seemingly appeared out of nowhere. If Issei had hesitated just a second longer, the strange weapon would have impaled him. "You taste like bird seed." Issei quipped as he slid his fist across his mouth, as if to remove the kiss. "And they say men can't be assaulted." "You want to see you'll assault," Raynare retorted as she launched herself into the air. "Prepare to get penetrated." The black-winged angel skillfully hurled the spear towards Issei's chest. Issei's eyes began to widen as the spear began to close the distance, much faster than he could dodge. His mind began to race as he tried to think of a plan, but all that came to mind was, crap. As his fear began to build, Issei's red gauntlet began to flash red. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker. Red light began to emanate from the boy's body, but at the same time the red spear made contact, causing a massive explosion. As smoke and dust began to pour out through the battlefield, a red figure rocketed out of the cloud, followed by a trail of smoke. Yuma's eyes began to fill with fear as she looked up at the red figure. The figure looked to be hulking red armor that appeared to be the cross between a medieval knight and red dragon. It had massive reptilian wings and a long whip-like tail. On the helmet there were a pair of sharp golden tusks, as well as two glowing green eyes. The entire body looked to be made up of the same material as Issei's gauntlet and even had similar green gems all along the body. "Oh yeah. I forgot I had a balance breaker." Issei's voice could be heard coming from the armored figure, sounding rather awkward in contrast to his intimidating appearance. Issei shook off the awkwardness as he shifted his attention back to the black angel. "Alright, that's enough for play. Time to get down to business." Issei pointed his finger towards the girl. "Who the hell are you and why did you attack me?" Yuma wasn't listening. She was too busy shaking due to her own fear to even hear Issei's demands. "No way," she said softly as if she still couldn't believe her own eyes. "The legendary scale male. That means you're not some random sacred gear possessor. You're the I gotta get out of here." Yuma turned around in midair and dashed away as fast as she could. "Hey wait." Issei called out as a sweat began to roll down the side of his head. It had already been a long day and Issei really didn't feel like chasing after the girl who was already a few hundred meters away from him. "I guess you win this round." Issei began to descend towards the ground. "What the hell was that drag?" Issei asked his hand as he retracted his wings. "I'll tell you later, partner." The green gem atop Issei's left hand flashed. "We still have company." "What? Where?" Issei said as he surveyed the area, nothing really catching his eye. "The bushes to your left, partner," Drake said, sounding rather unimpressed with his host. "I swear. I thought I taught you to sense life energy." "Oh yeah." Issei dispelled his helmet in a bright flash of light. Afterwards he closed his eyes and began to probe the area for signs of life, and there was in fact a life force in the bushes to his left. "Alright, we know you're there. Come on out." As Issei said this, bushes began to stir. After a few short seconds a person shot up. This person was in fact a woman, a beautiful woman. Crimson red hair spilled down far past her shoulders and all the way down to her daughter body was a perfect hergless figure, but she seemed to stand out a bit more than her dot. She had a smile that oozed confidence and beautifully calm blue eyes. "Damn. And I thought Yuma was a knockout. Wait for that uniform. She goes to my school." Issei thought before realizing that he might have been staring a bit too long. "Hi." The girl finally spoke up, ending the awkward silence between them. "My name is Rias Gremory, it's nice to meet you Issei-kun." Issei's eyes widened as he heard the name. Rias Gremory. Why the hell is that so familiar? Rias Gremory. Rias Gremory. Issei mulled over aloud. "I've definitely heard that name somewhere before. I just don't know where." "Ooh." Rias tried to speak up but was quickly quieted when Issei held up his hand telling her to stop talking. His face showed that he was really thinking hard, as if he was desperate to remember for himself. "I got it," Issei said with excitement as he slammed his fist into his open hand. "You're that princess chick," Issei exclaimed, getting the red-haired girl to raise her eyebrow. "I mean you're Rias Gremory." Issei corrected himself. "You and Akeno Himejima share the titles of Kuo's two great ladies. You're one of the school's idols and have hundreds of fans, men and women alike. You're like the school's princess I mean." "Yep, that's me." Rias smirked. "And you, Issei Haidu. You have quite the reputation yourself." With that Issei dispelled his armor as he took an arm-crossed stance, knowing what the girl was probably gonna say next. "Issei Haidu, what an interesting person you are. Top of the second-year class, but never pays attention in class. Rather handsome and very popular with girls, but still doesn't have a girlfriend. Associates with two of the most infamous perverts in the school, but you don't share their reputation. And to top it all off, just how interesting can one guy be? Wait. Is she complimenting me? I can't really tell." Issei thought as the redhead continued to her speech. While Issei was thinking, Rias made her way closer to the boy. She got to the point where she was practically inches from his face before giving Issei a bright smile, but that's enough with the introductions. I bet you're wondering why I was following you this evening. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I asked that. Issei thought as he backed away, trying to act annoyed rather than being embarrassed by how close the beautiful girl was to his face. Well, you see. I have a secret of my own. Rias smirked before twirling 180 degrees so that her back was facing Issei. Suddenly two gigantic bat-like wings sprouted out from her shoulder blades. As Issei marveled at this otherworldly spectacle, Rias turned back around with a smile that seemed to glow with confidence. I am Rias of the House of Gremory, and I am a devil. Whoa. Issei marveled as new information filled his head. It was like a whole new world had been opened to him and he was trying to comprehend all of it at once. Issei's look of wonder seemed to straighten and become more serious, as if he was about to use this new information to say something profound. I think I like Yuuma's wings better though. Issei's words seemed to hurt the devil to the point that she was knocked to the ground. What? Issei tried to defend his statement. Bats are kinda gross, and her wings were so smooth and looked pretty soft. That's all I'm saying, yours are cool too. Rias gathered herself and returned to her feet. She began to dust off her skirt as she started to speak. Fine, then I guess I'll get straight to the point. Rias said with a pout. Not only am I a devil, I'm the future head of one of the few remaining pure-blooded devil families left in existence. A few hundred years ago, a massive war between devils, angels, and fallen angels wiped out a majority of the devils, leaving only a handful left in existence. In order to combat this, we developed these. Rias pulls a red item that resembles a pawn piece from chess out from her shirt. This is what we call an evil piece. Looks just like a chess piece, doesn't it? But this a devil can reincarnate a being of another race to serve him or her in what is called a peerage. Rias tosses the piece at Issei, which he easily catches and examines the piece. Now this is where you come to in Issei. Rias continues. I sensed a power in you a while ago and was originally gonna ask you after school today, but you left before I had the chance. I was walking home when I noticed the fight between you and the fallen angel. I chose not to intervene because I couldn't recognize you in the armor. Issei began to mull over what the girl was saying. I can give you power and near immortality. All I ask is that you become mine. What do you say? Issei stood hunched over with his hand on his chin, making him look like he was in deep thought. Immortality and power do sound pretty enticing. There's only one problem. Issei began to look up from his thinking stance as he shot a cold glare straight into the devil's eyes. You're lying right to my face. You said you were looking for me after school, but I had left. In reality, I was helping sweep the kendo club for a good hour after school. Issei says, getting Rias to take a few steps back. I guess that really doesn't prove anything, but unfortunately I'm very observant. I know for a fact that you and Akeno Himejima share an apartment uptown. You said you were walking home. If that's true, then you've been walking 40 minutes in the wrong direction. Almost like you've been tailing someone. Issei narrows as he interrogates the girl. You said these pieces reincarnate someone as a devil. As in bring them back from the dead. Issei said as he held up the red piece. Now Drake, please repeat what you told me telepathically, out loud. Issei summons his red gauntlet. This Gremory. I have been able to sense your energy for the past half hour. Drake reveals, causing Ria's eyes to widen. Once again, Drake, you should have said something earlier. Issei turns from his gauntlet and refocuses his attention on Rias. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you my version of what happened tonight. I believe that you did intend to ask me to join your peerage professionally, but then you saw me with her and figured she was gonna kill me. Rather than warning me about her and risking my refusal, instead you figured you'd let her kill me and you would just reincarnate me then. Am I right? Rias didn't say a thing, she had no words. She just looked on with a shocked look on her face. On the nose, huh? Man, that's really not cool. Issei tossed the red pawn piece at the devil's feet. I'm gonna go ahead and say no. Welsh dragon balance breaker. Issei his wings before turning to the girl for one last thing. See you around, Gremory-san. And with that he jetted off into the air as the crimson-haired girl was left with no choice but to watch as he disappeared into the night sky. At Issei's house. An armored Issei landed on the front porch of his two-story townhouse. The armor began to fade in a bright red flash, leaving a tired-looking Issei alone in front of his house. Huh. Issei sighed as he pulled a key out of his pocket and placed it in the keyhole on his front door. What a crazy day. Issei said as he opened the door and entered the threshold. Issei immediately jumps into his bed and lies face down in his pillows before turning to his side and to speak with his dragon. Man, I'm exhausted. You've got some major explaining to do tomorrow, but tonight is over. It's sleep time now. Issei resumed his face down position in his pillows. Understood, partner. I promise to tell you everything you wish to know, but before you fall asleep I wish to bring something to your attention. Issei's hand lit up a bright green, causing the boy to turn back over to acknowledge his dragon. I would like to congratulate you on successfully using the balance breaker twice in the same day. Oh yeah. Issei quickly recalled the events that had just unfolded less than 5 minutes prior. I just kinda wanted to look cool when I turned down Gremory senpai, but I totally used the balance breaker twice. Man, I'm such a badass. I mean, how many other hosts have you had who could use balance breaker twice at 16? Issei turned to his hand and continued to gloat about his achievement. Once again, you are the youngest host to achieve such a feat. Drake acknowledged. However, this might be all there is to your legacy if you underestimate another opponent like you did tonight. Seriously, you were inches from death. Had you activated balance breaker when I told you to, the battle would have been over in seconds. Take this from someone who knows all too well. That enormous pride will be your downfall. Drake's scolding caused Issei to slump over into a depressed state. Yes, Drake-sama. Issei conceded to the dragon and began to slouch down into the sheets of his bed. One more thing before you go to bed. Issei stopped himself before he completely relaxed into his bed as he listened to profound wisdom. Take a shower. You're covered in sweat and smell like shit. If you fall asleep like that you could get a bad rash or acne. But that Issei climbed out of bed and thoroughly cleaned himself in the shower and brushed his teeth. Finally he was able to hop into his bed for a good night's sleep. Next day. Beep. 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 Issei was awakened by the annoying sound of his alarm. Issei shot a menacing glare at his clock, a mixture of exhaustion and irritation filled his eyes. The clock read 5:15 and Issei rolled his eyes as he knew what was coming next. Let's go, partner, this kind of training is necessary if you want to get any stronger. Drake spoke up, to which Issei responded with another glare to his left arm. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. If you refuse then you'll be without my company for the rest of the day. Fine. Issei yelled, accepting the inevitable. Cut to Issei outside of his house and running a tire. Alright partner, you know the drill. 10 kilometers and try to get it in under 20 minutes this time. Drake instructed. You know 10k in under 20 minutes is kinda humanly impossible, right? Issei responded sarcastically. And you know you hardly classify as just human at this point, right? Drake fired back. Now quit your bitching and start running. Fine, but while I run. You're gonna explain all this devil, black angel shit. Got it. Issei said as he began to run. Agreed. 1937 minutes later. Haha. Issei panted as he bent over to catch his breath. Afterwards he lifted the gauntlet to continue his conversation with Drake. So the Christians were right. Damn. I should have gone to church more often. If you want to be technical about it, everyone was right. Except atheists. Drake to Issei, who looked enthralled in the conversation. Also don't worry. I hear there's a special place in heaven for those with the guts to tell a beautiful devil princess to get lost. I can't believe you never told me about all this cool supernatural crap. I would have been kicking fallen angel ass for years now. Issei began to look down towards the ground and made a face like he was deeply contemplating something. Speaking of Rias. Do you think maybe we were a bit hard on her? I mean, she looked pretty sad when we left her alone last night. Not we. You were kind of a jerk. I mean, you didn't need to throw her piece on the floor like that, but you made the right decision turning her down. Drake's answer didn't make Issei feel any better. As for not telling you about the supernatural. That may have been a bad call on my part, but I wanted you to be more focused on your training. I don't regret the choice I made. Thanks, Drake. You always know how to make me feel better. Issei quipped at his dragon. And you, partner, always have the best attitude. No wonder you don't have a girlfriend. Drake's comeback got a little more personal than Issei would have liked, and the two began to argue the entire walk back to Issei's house. They continued even after Issei had opened the front door. Well, your Issei stopped mid-argument when he noticed something was off. Issei quietly shut the door and entered stealth mode. He quickly pressed himself up against the living room wall as he quietly began to sneak towards the kitchen. Partner, what's going on? Is there an intruder? Drake asked telepathically so that he didn't make a sound. I don't know for sure. Issei responded in his head. All I know right now is that something smells delicious. Issei quietly summoned his crimson gauntlet in order to deal with the intruder when he heard humming. Issei couldn't make out a particular voice, but he knew the intruder was female. Issei wasn't gonna wait any longer. He wanted to get to the bottom of this right now. Alright. Who the hell are you and what are you doing in my house? Issei announced as he pounced from around the corner into the kitchen. Unfortunately, he couldn't have possibly been prepared for what he was about to see. In the kitchen was Rias Gremory. The devil girl was turned away from Issei and had headphones lodged in her ears, keeping her from noticing Issei's presence. The girl seemed to be dancing as she was cooking, so it was obvious that she was listening to music from her earbuds. Gremory-san, what the hell are you doing in my house? Issei asked, still stunned by the shocking revelation. The girl did a small twirl in her dance, revealing that she was wearing a black apron that read Badice in red print over her cool uniform. My favorite apron. Issei said, sounding a bit hurt. Oh, there you Issei-kun. Rias removed one of her earbuds after she saw Issei. You were running, I see. That makes sense. Lucky for you, I'm almost done. I hope you like eggs. She smiled brightly at the boy. Issei didn't return the smile, in fact he looked more irritated than anything. I'm gonna go take a shower. He said bitterly. If you wait till I'm done cooking, I'll join you. The redhead shot the boy a sly wink, but Issei stormed off out of the kitchen and towards his room. 1 shower later. Issei, now dressed in his cool uniform, including the black blazer, which he left open as well as his shirt unbuttoned, showing off his red undershirt. He took a seat across from Rias. He balanced his chin on his hand and made a face like he was pouting. Issei-kun. Rias spoke up, causing Issei's less than happy eyes to meet her upbeat gaze. Please try the eggs. I worked really hard on them. Issei scooped up a clump of yellow eggs in his fork, his gaze still focused on the girl. He quickly put the fork into his mouth, causing his face to shift from upset to surprised. Well, how are they? Rias chirped happily. Incredible. Issei marveled at the eggs. You could tell that the boy was genuinely impressed by the look on his face. Rias gave him another friendly smile, which broke him out of his trance. He quickly shook his head and the upset expression returned. Issei. Why are you upset anyway? Rias asked as she looked down at her plate and played with her food. The fact that she even had to ask why Issei was angry shocked the boy so much that his jaw dropped down. Why am I angry, you ask? Issei began to shake as he spoke. Maybe it's because a girl who was perfectly comfortable with letting me be killed broke into my house, cooked me breakfast, and is basically acting like nothing ever happened. Issei shouted as he slammed his hands down onto the table. After he realized that he may have been acting a bit irrationally, he sat back down. Sorry for yelling. He said softly. But how did you even get in here? I'm a devil, with magic I can teleport wherever I want. Rias answered, causing Issei's eyes to widen. But I didn't have to, because you left the door unlocked. With that, Issei's curiosity died. And you're still mad about last night. That's kinda petty, you know. Rias said as she sipped her tea, causing Issei to give her a look of total disbelief. I know I did something wrong, but I already got over how you left me alone on the streets late at night. I mean, what kind of gentleman just abandons a lady like that? Talk about rudeness. Issei dropped his head down on the table, he gave up arguing. I understand your decision, but I am still gonna ask you again. Also keep in mind that if you refuse, that doesn't mean I've given up, far from it actually. Would you please join my peerage? Rias clasps her hands together and lowers her head to Issei. Pick your head up. Issei said as he crossed his arms and the devil complied. Look, I don't care if it's petty, but we aren't cool yet. I'm still mad at you, like really mad. But even if I wasn't, I still don't know that I'd join you. Call it whatever you like, but it sounds like slavery to me. And as of right now, I don't want you as my master. Alright, I understand. Rias said, looking much less happy than when she entered. I do, however, implore you to join the occult research club now that you know my secret. Maybe after you meet the rest of my peerage, you'll agree to become mine. Fine, I'll join the club. But I'm not making any promises. Issei begrudgingly agreed. The smile reformed on the devil's face as she stood up from the table. Thank you so much, Issei-kun. Yeah. Issei put on an uninterested face as he took a sip from his own tea, averting his gaze from the red girl. Don't get too excited. One more thing, Issei-kun. Rias quickly enveloped both of Issei's hands in her own and pulled them towards herself. The boy's face lit up a bright red. Let's walk to school together. At school. Issei stood in a group of his fellow students as they examined a few pieces of papers stapled outside of one of the classrooms. Each paper was labeled at the top with class rankings. Students scanned the list to see where they ranked amongst their friends. Issei, however, seemed to have other things on his mind. Goddamn it, Drag. Telepathically vented to his dragon. She asked me to join her peerage, like 5 times on the way up here. I know, partner. I was there. Drake sounded pretty uninterested. I don't think she's gonna give up anytime soon, so you better just get used to saying no. Like all those times you rejected girls' love confessions, like a heartless beast. Wasn't it you who told me that having a human girlfriend would just be a distraction from my training? Issei said, shifting the blame for his loneliness onto the dragon. I said that when you were in middle school. Before you unlocked the balance breaker, I didn't mean forever. Drake replied, sounding even more uninterested. Issei looked stunned by the dragon's words. Wait, you mean dot? Issei-kun. Issei's inner conversation was interrupted by the irritated voice of a female student. Issei turned around to find Caddis. What's going on? I called your name like 4 times. Did your ranking drop or something? The pink-haired girl asked, peering over Issei's shoulder trying to find his rank. Nope. Still number 1. Issei stepped aside revealing his ranking at the top of the list. It's weird. I never pay attention in class, but my grades are incredible. Issei said, sounding legitimately shocked. Yeah. Everybody knows you're a super genius. Caddis looked back and forth at the angry glares directed towards the brown-haired boy. And everybody hates it. If it's not your grades that you're worrying about. Caddis took a thinking pose. Could it be that you're having girl problems? Issei held up 3 unopened envelopes, all sealed with heart stickers. Nope. This is the fewest I've had in weeks. You know what I wonder? Issei says, getting the pink-haired girl's attention. So the girls who are rejected by Yudo-kun then come to me. Who do they go to after I reject them? You don't know how awful it feels that the 2 most eligible bachelors in school seem to have little to no interest in women. Caddis puts her head into her hands as if she was actually depressed. It's so unfair. You know what's really unfair? Issei said, balancing his face on his hand. I give every other guy in school a fair shot, but they all still hate me. If they gave me a chance, then they'd know just how awesome and cool I was. Narcissistic, smart ass, spaces out during conversation. Yeah, super cool and awesome. Caddis joked with the boy. What? I couldn't hear you. I was spacing out. Issei joked out, getting a small chuckle out of the girl. Hey Issei. Caddis spoke in a much softer voice, sounding rather concerned about something. Are you sure you aren't having lady trouble? I heard from one of the kendo club members that you walked to school with Rias Gremory this morning. Could it be that maybe you have a crush on her? Absolutely not. Issei deadpanned. She just asked me to join her club. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Caddis said after thinking for herself. I bet you said no, right? I mean, didn't you say you weren't gonna join a club this year? Plus, just how boring does occult research sound, so there would be no way you joined that club. Unless you had a thing for her or something. Actually, I said yes. Issei admitted. After school. I still don't understand why Caddis stormed off like that. Issei thought of making his way to the old school building where the occult research club met after school. Goddamn, this place is creepy. Issei pushed open one of the giant doors to the old building, letting out an eerie creak. He slowly made his way deeper into the building until he eventually stumbled across a candlelit room. In this room sat Rias at a large wooden desk towards the back of the room. Sitting in the twin couches toward the center of the room were some of the school's many idols. Bakeno Himejima, 3rd year, a true Japanese beauty and the second of the 2 great ladies next to Rias. Kibayudo, 2nd year, the prince of Kuo and Issei's counterpart. Kaneko Taoju, 1st year, Kuo's honorary mascot. Wow. Issei couldn't help but marvel at the all-star lineup he was now faced with. Issei Haidu. Rias spoke up from her desk as she put her hands together and rested them across the wooden table. Welcome to the Occult Research Club. With that, each of the members their own pair of devil wings. The alarm clock blared, destroying the once peaceful sleep that the young devil had come to enjoy. The redhead rolled over in her bed hoping to simply ignore the irritating noise. Unfortunately for her, the cursed clock was relentless as the noise seemed to increase. Beep. 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 Fine. I'm up. Rias yelled to no one as she sat up in her bed, revealing her purple nightgown that left very little to the imagination. She quickly glanced at the time on her clock. 5:20. That jerk better be grateful for this. But that the young girl crawled out of bed and made her way to the shower. One steamy, overly shower scene later. As Rias made her way towards the kitchen, a small yawn escaped her. She entered the threshold to the oversized kitchen and was met by her well-endowed dark-haired friend. Yawn. Morning. The drowsy girl attempted to cover her mouth as she greeted her friend, which was met by a friendly smile. Good morning, Rias. What are you doing so early? Akeno asked as she began to start the stove. I was going to get started on breakfast. You're not planning on going to see that boy again this morning? You do not. There is such a thing as coming on too strong. I already told you, Issei is more than just a boy. Getting him to join us is of the utmost importance. And other girls can come on too strong, but I'm me. I'm irresistible. Rias said, as if she was stating a fact. Anyways, isn't it a bit early for breakfast? What are you really doing up this early? You got me. Akeno stepped aside, revealing a broom to her left. This caused Rias to gasp. Akeno, how could you? Rias turned away from her friend, obviously offended by her actions. This isn't the castle. This is my house. I can be a slob here if I wanna. Rias explained as she pouted a bit. But it's filthy. Akeno said, her cheerful expression hadn't changed in the slightest despite the conflict that had arisen. You came home yesterday and started snacking on sea. You left bags and crumbs all over the living room. That's because Issei made me so frustrated yesterday. I was stressed about eating. Rias turned around so that she could defend herself to the face of her accuser. I still can't believe he refused to join me in front of my whole peerage. That was the 6th time I asked him. It's so embarrassing. Rias began to ramble on and get off topic. I'm irresistible. Akeno said mockingly, causing her master to shoot her an angry glare. Sorry. It's just, he didn't look too infatuated yesterday. He likes to act stoic. I swear he thinks he's the coolest person alive. Rias says as she crosses her arms in frustration. So he acts like he isn't into me, when in reality he's already fallen for my womanly charm. If that's true, why hasn't he become a devil yet? Akeno asks, breaking her master's aura of confidence. Honestly, I'm not too sure seduction is the best tactic. I don't know that Issei truly understands the concept of flirting yet. He's a boy. All they think about is Rias deadpanned. Then maybe he's just not that into. Akeno said, causing Ria's mouth to drop open. Maybe I should give it a shot. I mean, he's cuter than you made him out to be. I don't think I would mind getting cozy with him. Yeah, it could be real foo. Akeno. Rias didn't want to hear whatever her friend was about to say. No way. I can't let you seduce him. He's gonna join my peerage, for me. Not because of you. Ria's reaction caused Akeno to perk up and the black-haired girl began to chuckle before completely bursting out in laughter. Ha 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 ha. You totally do have a crush on him. My god, it's adorable. Ha 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 ha. Shut up. I am not. Rias shouted, acting almost like a small child. I gotta go, he's gonna be back soon from his training. Fix your attitude before school, okay? With that, a glowing red circle appeared beneath Ria's feet and she began to fade in a red light. At Issei's house. The glowing red circle appeared on the floor of Issei's dark kitchen. A bright flash of red light took the form of a woman and as it began to dim, Rias appeared. Why is it so dark in here? Rias said as she searched for a light switch. Last time I was here all the lights were on. Wait, does this mean? Rias sprinted out of the kitchen and made her way towards Issei's room. Once she reached the boy's room, she slowly turned the doorknob. She quietly opened Issei's bedroom door, which revealed a sleeping Issei. Ha! I knew it. No running today, huh? Even the Red Dragon Emperor takes breaks. Rias thought as she observed the boy. I don't know what Akeno was going on about, but I agree that he might be a tiny bit cute. At least when he's sleeping. On closer inspection of the boy, there was something wrong. Issei's sleep was anything but peaceful. His head would shake and twitch rapidly, as if he was struggling with something. His eyes were shut tightly as if he was afraid of something. Issei. Rias began to reach her hand towards the boy in order to provide comfort, but she was suddenly stopped. Issei had grabbed the girl by the wrist as he looked on at her with a glare that could pierce her very soul. Oh, it's you. Issei said quietly in a very monotone voice. Issei, are you alright? What was that about? Rias said as she got closer to the boy, still trying to comfort him. It's nothing. Issei pushed the girl off of him and sat up in his bed. His well-cut abs on display for the young devil girl, who found it nearly impossible not to stare. I just have nightmares sometimes. That's all. Now get out. How rude. I was just trying to help. You don't have to be such a Rias was stopped mid-sentence as Issei fully got out of bed, revealing that he was in fact not wearing pants of any sort as well. Yeah. About an hour later. Breakfast went by rather silently, as Rias was much too embarrassed to talk and Issei didn't really want to talk. After what seemed like an awkward eternity, the two finally set off for school. It was a cold, windy Japanese day. A small breeze quickly blew between Ria's legs, lifting her skirt and causing her to shiver and shake. Damn wind. It's freezing today. Rias thought to herself as she tried to hide her discomfort from the boy. Suddenly a warmth came over her shoulders and back. Issei had placed his black Kuo blazer on the girl's shoulders as he tried to give her some form of protection. I guess it would be much warmer in hell, huh? Issei commented as he continued on his way to school. I never got the whole Japanese schoolgirls in skirts thing. It can get really cold here, wouldn't pants make more sense? You weren't cold? Rias asked as she rushed to catch up with Issei. What was it you said yesterday? Something about me not being a gentleman. Well, there you go. Issei playfully smirks at the girl. We can't have the president getting sick now, can we? Where am I supposed to nap after school if the club doesn't meet? Rias blushed a bit at the genuine concern that Issei showed for her. Maybe he's not such a jerk after all. Rias immediately began to shake her head at the thought. Thanks, I guess. Something had been bothering Ria's senses this morning and she figured now was as good of a time as any. What was the nightmare about? She kind of blurted out of nowhere, causing Issei to give her a strange look. I mean, I've never seen someone look so troubled in their sleep before. So it must have been pretty bad. It wasn't anything really. Nothing out of the usual at least. Issei said dismissively, not making eye contact with the girl. I don't believe it. You look terrified this morning and you never emoted. Rias said, which offended Issei a bit. It has to be something pretty major to get such an extreme reaction out of you. You wouldn't get it. Issei said, desperately trying to get Rias to drop the subject. And I do too much. Issei, please. Rias begged. Issei let out a sigh as he finally relented to the girl. When I was really young. My parents died in a fire. Issei confesses, causing Ria's eyes to widen in shock. I made it out of that fire with Drake's help, but I wasn't able to save them. I guess that messed me up pretty bad because I have nightmares about them almost nightly. Oh god. Issei, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Rias apologized to the boy. Issei's face read very little emotion, but it was obvious that he was sensitive about the topic. It's fine. It's not like it's your fault. Nothing anybody can do now, is there? Issei said as he turned away from the girl. Come on, we're going to be late. Later in the day. Ring. 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 The bell rang throughout Kuo Academy, and with that all the 3 RTD year students had been dismissed for lunch. Rias and Akeno pulled together their tables as they planned to enjoy lunch together. The 2 girls pulled out their lunches and prepared to dig in when they overheard something. Whoa Aika, you look so different. A female student blurted out from a nearby table. This got the attention of everyone in the class, including the school's 2 great ladies. The female student's claim was not without merit. Aika Yamamoto, Aika, who had the reputation of being a very quiet and reserved girl, had up until today always arrived at school with her hair up in a ponytail and very little makeup. This wasn't the case today. Today her long, wavy brown hair was free to flow down past her shoulders. She seemed to pop, the bright crimson tick contrasted amazingly with her skin. Her new appearance made her look much more mature and seductive. Aika-sen, what happened? What's with the change? Another female student who was sitting at the table asked. Well, if you must know. The previously shy and reserved girl spoke with so much confidence and clearness in her voice, it was almost as if someone else was talking. I can no longer put up such a pure and innocent facade. I'm not a little girl anymore, now I'm a woman. No way. The same girl who had asked previously exclaimed before reverting to a soft whisper. Aika, you lost your V card. To which they nodded with the same confident grin on her face. Really? Who was it? Another girl asked rather enthusiastically. Aika was rather taken aback by her question as a sweat bead dribbled down her forehead. Well. Aika fumbled over her words before clearing her voice. I shouldn't really say this because we agreed it was just gonna be a one-time thing, and if word gets out he would probably deny it, but I'll say it anyway. It was Issei Haidu. AHH. Akeno shrieked as she had become covered in green tea, which had previously been in Ria's mouth. What? The red-haired girl screamed. Issei Haidu, really? No way. He's not that type of guy. I always figured he was the bad boy type, but a one-night stand. That's terrible. The girls in the class clamored amongst themselves. Bang. Rias violently slammed her hands down in front of Aika, getting the attention of the entire class. Tell me everything that happened. Well, let's see if I remember correctly. Aika said nervously. It was last Friday when I was walking home when I got stuck in the rain. It didn't rain last Friday. Akeno deadpanned, but no one was paying attention. I had made my way to a bus stop where I could shelter myself from the rain, and that's where I met him. We really hit it off, we talked and laughed until the rain stopped. Aika's voice slowly grew more confident as she continued to speak, all attention on her. Eventually it escalated and we stopped at a hotel on the way to his house. There isn't a hotel between Issei's house and school. Akeno deadpanned again to the attention of no one. He took me in his arms and kissed me and he touched my chest. Aika's confident voice began to waver as she tried to go into the details. Okay, that's enough, Aika. One of the girls at the table said. Our young hearts can't take such steamy details. Poor girl. Can you believe this story, Rias? Akeno said as she crossed her arms. Rias. Rias was quaking in rage. Her body shook as her blood began to boil. That jerk. A few hours later at the Orc. Issei Haidu. Rias slammed open the huge wooden door to her club room as she stormed in. The devil girl seemed to radiate a violent, almost villainous aura. Rias made her way to one of her velvet couches to find a sleeping Issei. Issei. Huh, what? Issei asked as he slept from his eyes. How dare you? Rias looked down at the boy, pure anger pouring from her eyes. How dare I, what? Issei asked, earnestly confused by the whole situation. Ouch. Shut up. Rias kicked the boy in his shin. Don't you dare act like you don't know what you did. You scum. You think it's cool to play around with women like Thar? Rias. Akeno tried to get her master's attention, but was once again ignored. The one-night stand, seriously. That's horrible, you disgusting pig. Women are more than just things that you can play with. Rias almost began to tear up as Issei looked on in disbelief. Rias. Akeno said again a little bit louder. You wanna know something? I was really starting to like you, you know. I thought you were kind and sweet and hardworking, but it turns out I was completely wrong. Rias got closer and closer to the boy's face as she continued to rant. What was that story you told me about your parents? Another lie. Were you trying to play sympathetic on me, hoping I would let my guard down around you so you could take advantage of me? You know what Issei Haidu is. I don't want you in my peerage, I don't even want you in my club. In my opinion, people are like you are better off dead. Slap. The red-haired devil struck the boy's face with her hand, leaving a red mark. A wide-eyed Issei the side of his face as he looked on in confusion. His confused face turned into an angry growl. Issei stood up from his seat and began to make his way towards the door to the orc as he began to leave. Rias began to regret what she had said, slightly. She didn't really want the boy to leave, but her pride wouldn't let her apologize. That's right, leave. I never want to see you around here again. Rias yelled, causing Issei to stop in his tracks as if he was going to say something, but changed his mind as he slowly slipped out of the room. Rias sank down into the couch and placed her face into her hands. Akeno. Rias' voice was muffled by her hands. Can you please make me some tea? Yes, but you. Akeno quickly brewed a pot of green tea and poured her master a cup. I have something to tell you. Rias looked up from her hands, she was clearly on the verge of tears. Well, I think you should know that Aika was lying. What? Rias said as her eyes flashed wide. What do you mean she was lying? How do you know? Well, for one, it didn't rain last Friday, and there isn't a hotel anywhere between the school and Issei's house. Akeno explained, flooding her master's head with logic that disproved her classmate's claim. I don't know much about Issei's love life, but I do know that he did not sleep with Aika. Rias shot up from her seat as she realized a grave mistake she had made. Oh god. A few hours later, Issei's POV. AHHH. There's nothing like midnight ramen to get your spirits up, Drake. Issei smiled as he slowly strolled down a dark and empty street. I wouldn't know, partner. I don't have taste buds. Drake answered in his usual snarky attitude. By the way, partner. Do you really think you should be out this late on a school night? I'm not going to school tomorrow. Rias really pissed me off today, so I'm gonna chill at home. Issei the side of his face where he had been slapped, then he pulled his smartphone out of his pocket. The electronic glass Gremory AD35 unread text 28 unanswered calls. Man, she really has some nerve, doesn't she? Issei put his phone away and continued to walk. The hours ticked by as he continued his walk towards his house. The walk had been rather quiet and lonely until he passed a large man sporting a trench coat and fedora. Issei tried to avoid any contact with the stranger, but nevertheless the mysterious man began to follow him. Hey kid. The man called out, increasing his pace. You smell like sacred gear. Black wings sprouted from the man's back and he summoned a long blue spear of light to his hand. Now you're gonna die. The fallen angel. Issei said as he jumped out of the man's way. Finally. Alright, let's do it. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker. Issei coated himself in the illuminating armor as his body began to surge with immense power. Oh shit. The fallen angel screamed. You're that kid. After recognizing Issei, the dark-winged angel attempted to flee the scene, but Issei would not allow this to happen again. Oh no you don't. Issei rocketed forward so fast that the fallen angel couldn't even react. Issei tackled the man to the ground and had him pinned. In a fit of desperation, the fallen angel began to gather blue light in his hand, hoping to form another spear. Can't have that, now can we? Issei forced his strength into his hands and… Snop. Braug. The dark-haired man cried out in pain as both of his wrists were broken. Ouch. I bet that hurt, right? Issei added insult to injury as he taunted his enemy. It's about to hurt a lot less, unless you tell me exactly what I want to know. The fallen angel looked up at the lifeless green eyes of Issei helmet and nodded weakly. Good. So what I want to know is, just where is Yuma? The heavy wooden doors of the church flew inwards, rashing into the wall on the opposite side of the room. What the hell? Yuma turned towards the entrance of the church as she tried to discover who was responsible for the intrusion. She would immediately regret that decision. Her eyes filled with fear as she looked on at the hulking red figure with the piercing green eyes. No. It can't be. How the hell did you find me? The little birdie told me. Issei jokes. Cut to the street where Issei and Donosik had fought to find the male fallen angel bound by a bent metal lamppost wrapped around his body. Now, Yuma. I have some questions that you're gonna answer. Issei's sarcastic tone turned into a rather threatening one. My name is Raynare, not Yuma. Raynare said as she surveyed the area, looking for anything that could help her escape. Finding nothing, she cautiously backed away from Issei, hoping to create some distance. And I don't have to tell you shit. Raynare, don't make me get violent. I don't wanna have to fight you, but if I do it won't be pretty. Issei said as he slowly approached the girl, his aura blazing at this point. A small grin formed on the fallen angels before whispering. We'll see about that. She turned to a certain section of pews and screamed. Freed. Now. But that a man with shoulder-length dirty blonde hair, dressed in clerical clothing and a crooked smile plastered on his face, jumped out from under a pew. With pleasure. Freed pulled a gun from his cloak and pointed it directly at the side of Issei's head. Bang. A bullet of light fired from the barrel of his pistol and struck the side of Issei's helmet. Issei turned to Freed. Ow. Really? What was that even supposed to do? It was really annoying. Freed looked rather shocked by how little his shot actually did and nervously chuckled a bit. Well, it was supposed to. Boost. Power surged through Issei's body as he began to approach Freed when he suddenly stopped. He was frozen almost like a statue until his body began to glow red. In a huge flash of red light, Issei's armor disappeared, leaving just a high school boy. What the hell, Drag? Issei screamed at his gauntlet. What happened to the balance breaker? You idiot. Fires back. I warned you we were still low on power from when you used the balance breaker twice in one day, but you didn't listen to me. You didn't even need to boost to fight these losers, but you had to show off, and now you're screwed. You should have been like, hey Issei. Don't boost, even once. Or else you will run out of power. I thought I had like 5 minutes left. Issei argued in his defense. You did. But then you used 3 to wrap that fallen angel guy with a lamppost. Then you used the rest of it right now. Rebuttal. You're on your own now. You cannot rely on balance breaker for this fight. Your regular boosted gear should be enough to handle these two, but you need to proceed with caution. I understand. Issei refocused himself as he surveyed his surroundings, evaluating his situation. I can take these guys no problem. There is no way I'm dying here. Bang. Bang. We'll see about that. Freed smirked after firing 2 light bullets into Issei. Once in the shoulder and once in the knee, bring him down and shut him up. Hahaha. Freed's crackle broke out into a full-blown maniacal laugh as he regrouped with the fallen angel. Well done, boss lady. So much for the red dragon idiot. Freed redirected his attention to Issei as he aimed his gun. You probably shouldn't be the one to kill your boyfriend. Don't worry, I'll do it for you. Raynare stuck her hand out in front of the blonde man as she stepped forward. No way. I've been looking forward to this ever since that night. The scandalously clad woman gently placed a finger over her dot. I already gave him my kiss of death. Now it's time to collect. Another red spear of light formed in the fallen angel's hand as she prepared to hurl the weapon directly at Issei's throat. Poor Issei-kun. So much potential, but nothing to show for it. All bark and no bite. With that, Raynare let the spear fly. Clang. Issei backhanded the spear, which was moving almost too fast to see, knocking it away. Issei stood back on both his legs. He also let go of his right shoulder, allowing blood to flow freely from a deep gash. His bangs cloaked his eyes from view, making it hard to read any emotion from the boy until he curled into a small grin. Boost. You think you can break my armor and I'm just gonna sit idly by and let you kill me? Issei slowly began to walk forward as his 2 opponents stood frozen in a mixture of fear and disbelief. Boost. I'm Issei Haidu, the Red Dragon Emperor. This fight is only just beginning. Issei lifted up his gauntlet which began to glow a bright red. Explosion. All the energy Issei had been storing was released at once, surrounding the boy in a radiant red aura. Ready for round 2. Issei taunted as he took a battle stance. Ahahahaha. Freed bursted out in laughter. I like you, dragon boy. It's gonna be fun ripping you to shreds. Freed ignited a white blade of light from a golden handle he had hidden in his cloak. Raynare still didn't move as she still seemed focused on Issei. Raynare. Freed shouted, breaking the fallen angel out of her trance. Don't just sit there, it's time to fix. Freed was silenced by a giant red gauntlet to the face, knocking him through a wall. Raynare lets out a battle cry before firing 2 light spears in Issei's direction. Issei dodges the spears by vaulting into the air. Issei then uses the downward momentum to deliver a devastating drop kick to Raynare's head. Bang. A bullet of light punctured Issei's back, sending him to the ground. Issei rolled over on his back to find Freed standing over him, about to bring his light sword down on him. Issei flipped up and kicked the blade out of his hand before landing on a handstand. While on his hands, he delivered a 2-legged kick which knocked Freed into a shelf. Freed's light sword eventually comes to a stop right next to a cloth tapestry. The heat of the blade eventually causes the cloth to burst into flames, which in turn sets the entire church to ablaze. Just die. Raynare screams as she fires another spear at Issei. Instead of dodging, Issei opted to grab the spear out of the air with his gauntlet. Issei turned the glowing spear around and prepared to throw it back at Raynare, but it began to glow a light red before causing another explosion. The force of the blast sent Issei flying into a plume of flames, and he did not emerge. Ha ha ha. Fried painted. Ha, so you think we got him? No. Raynare's voice was filled with terror as she remained focused on the flame plume where Issei had landed. Ha 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 ha. Issei quietly laughed as he slowly emerged from the flames. She's right, you know. I'm just getting started. Issei's legs wobbled, his clothes were tattered and torn, and he was covered in blood, most of it being his own. It was clear that Issei had been through hell, but nevertheless his eyes burned with a passion that could make a man shiver. He's crazy. Fried began to twitch as he looked Issei in the eyes. All the joy and confidence had drained from the blonde man, and all that was left was fear. He's crazy. Fried turned towards the back exit of the church, leaving Raynare alone. Howard. Coward, get back here. Ack ack ack. Raynare began to cough as smoke filled the building. Issei began to slowly walk towards Raynare when he looked up and noticed something. A flaming wooden beam dangling precariously over the girl, looking like it might fall at any second. Oh crap. Issei lunges forward to Raynare, causing her to flinch as the boy wraps his arms around her. Thud. The sound caused Raynare to look up. When she did, saw Issei shielding the girl from the burning wooden beam, which split across the boy's back. Why? Why would you ack ack ack? Raynare's coughing didn't die down this time, as more and more smoke filled her lungs. We need to get you out of here right now. Issei picked the girl up in a princess carry. Issei surveyed the room, hoping to find an escape route. Crap. Looks like I'm gonna have to improvise. Issei lowered his shoulder and charged through a nearby wall, which had weakened by the flames. Ahhhh. Issei grasped his bleeding shoulder that he used as a battering ram. His screams died down as he noticed the silence coming from Raynare. Hey. Issei patted the fallen angel's face in an attempt to wake her up, but there was no response. Issei put his ear up to the girl's mouth. She's not breathing. Issei began pressing his hands down on the girl's chest as he performed CPR. Come on. You need to get air into her lungs, partner. You can't just press down on her chest. Drake informs the boy. Yeah. I know. It's just a small blush forms across the boy's face. Do you want to save her or not? Drake said in an even more imposing voice. Fine. Issei replied sheepishly. Issei opened the girl's mouth and began to lower his towards hers. He was mere millimeters from Raynare's when the girl's eyes shot open. What the hell do you think you're doing? Raynare immediately scoots far away from Issei and covers her mouth with her hand. Bdraig. Issei screams into his hand. Laughter erupts from Issei's gauntlet, much to the boy's dismay. You idiot. I can't believe you fell for that. Raynare couldn't believe her eyes as she looked on at the two bickering. This is the legendary Welsh dragon. Raynare spoke quietly to herself before exhaustion began to set in and her eyes became heavy. Hours later, Raynare began to blink her eyes open when she realized something was strange. She was no longer outside of the burning church, rather she was laying in the sheets of a comfortable bed. Ugh. Raynare looked up to find a shirtless Issei, struggling to tend to a deep gash on his shoulder. Issei seemed to be wincing in pain as he threaded a needle into the gash in an attempt to close the wound. The wound is too deep and this shitty string keeps breaking. Issei pulls his left hand up to his mouth. Quit your screaming or else you'll wake our guest. Drake warns the boy. If you're really having trouble, you could always go to a hospital. Drake's words cause Issei to shudder. Ahem. Raynare fakes a cough, causing Issei to shift his attention to her. She's already awake. The fallen angel sat up in the bed with a straight face. Why have you brought me here anyway? I told you I had questions for you. Like, why the hell would you just try to kill me the other day, and what are a bunch of fallen angels doing in the middle of a devil's territory? Issei crossed his arms as he faced the girl. Alright, I'll tell you. But first let me help stitch up that shoulder. Raynare pointed towards the dangling string coming from Issei's shoulder. Ouch. Issei screams as Raynare meticulously works on sewing up the wound. Both of them are now sitting together on the bed. Hold still. Raynare says as he shifts herself to a more comfortable position on the bed as she continues with the stitching. Man, you're in bad shape. This wound aside, you have another nasty bullet hole on your knee, some pretty bad burns on your chest, and a few cracked ribs. Yeah. Now you're gonna tell me why you tried to kill me. Issei sounded pretty impatient at this point. Fine. Raynare said as she tugged at a thread in Issei's shoulder. I came here in order to steal a very powerful sacred gear. I was able to sense your sacred gear and had to kill you to make sure that you couldn't intervene. I had no idea you were the red dragon, or else I obviously would have tried a much less straightforward approach. Makes sense. Issei nods his head. My only question is why would you want to go and steal sacred gear? I messed up pretty bad on a mission. I can't tell you what happened or what I did. All I can tell you is our leader got pissed and I was expelled from the Gregory. Raynare sounded rather depressed as she reminisced about the past. I was going to use that sacred gear as a peace offering so I could go home, but you ruined that plan and burned down the church I was staying in. Now I have nowhere to stay. Yeah, that sounds awful. Issei comments. I have nowhere to sleep and nothing to eat. I'm gonna have to sleep on the streets. Tears began to build up in her eyes. I'll send you off with some cash. Issei deadpanned, not giving in to her tears. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Nobody likes fallen angel. If the church finds me they'll definitely try to kill me. Raynare began to sob loudly. Issei brought a hand to his face and shook his head. Fine. Issei relented. Hey Raynare. Since I have a spare bedroom and can to burn down your house. Would you like to stay here? Really? Raynare's tears immediately, almost as if they were fake. Oh, thank you. Slam. Issei. Rias immediately comes running into the bedroom after slamming the door. The red-haired girl jumps into the bed and wraps her arms around Issei. I saw blood in the living room, are you okay? I'm fine. Just a few cuts and bruises. Issei says, trying to push the girl off of him. And some broken ribs. Raynare comments as she looks on at the intimate scene, feeling rather like a third wheel. Did she do this to you? Rias turned to Raynare in accusation, holding Issei even tighter. Issei and Raynare said simultaneously. It's okay, we're cool now. Issei smirked and Raynare nodded in confirmation. Rias continues to glare at the dark-haired girl. She then turned to Issei and began to unbutton her shirt and began to do the same to Issei's pants. What the heck are you doing? Issei covered his nose as he looked away, occasionally glimpsing at the devil's chest. I need to have uninhibited skin contact between our bodies if I'm going to heal you. Rias began to blush heavily, Issei followed. Rias quickly looked down. And I'm just going to ignore that. Ed. Raynare spoke up, now looking slightly upset. What does your all over Issei have to do with healing him? My aura helps to soothe his body. Rias presses her rather impressive chest down on the boy. Aw, this does feel nice. Issei becomes overtaken by bliss. As far as I know only devils can do this, so I'll take responsibility for healing the injuries you caused. You can go. She makes a bright smile and waves off the fallen angel. Raynare stood up and made her way towards the door. Hey wait. Issei raised his hand to try to get her to stop. Issei, I'm going to my room. Raynare smirked at Rias, who made a jealous face. See you tomorrow. Raynare quietly shut the door on the two as she entered Issei's hallway. She made a satisfied smile as she entered her own bedroom, but after she shut her door that smile quickly turned into a frown. Stupid devil. Hut to the street. With Donasik. Wake up Dumbus. A petite blonde girl. With her hair tied in twin tails and wearing a gothic dress, kicked sand into the sleeping face of Donasik. Donasik's eyes lit up as he looked at the blonde. What happened? Where's Raynare? Is she alright? No. Millet looked down in disappointment at the dark-haired man. According to Freed, the Red Dragon Emperor killed her after you provided him with the information he needed to do so. Miller's mouth curled up into a malicious grin. Good work. What do you mean? Why would you congratulate me on the loss of a comrade? Donasik didn't receive an answer. Millet charged up a pink light spear. Ah. With that, the lamppost which had previously bound the male fallen angel in place was destroyed. Because, idiot. We still have the girl and we still have the equipment. Which means now we can carry out the plan ourselves and reap our own rewards. Miller's words caused the dark-haired man to smirk. Millet made a crooked grin as well, before breaking into a wicked laugh. Alright, see you later. Issei smiles as he begins to close the door on Rias. Hey why? Slam. Issei lets out a sigh of relief. Thank God she's gone. What the hell is she thinking? Breaking into my house and taking her clothes off. Issei puts his hand over his right shoulder. I'll give her credit, her little magic trick definitely works wonders. Yeah, I bet that's not the only magical thing that happened last night. Raynare, dressed in a white bathrobe, stood in the doorway connecting the kitchen to the living room, her face not looking the least bit pleased. So, did you put it in the princess? Absolutely not. Issei said blankly. Yeah, I figured as much, she was oozing with virginity last night. But what's wrong with you, are you gay or something? Raynare said as the two entered the kitchen. You say that it's a bad thing. Homophobe. Issei said as he put his badice apron around his and started the stove. But unfortunately for all the men of the world, I am in fact straight. It's just, she's not my type. Yeah, she seemed like a bitch. Raynare added as she looked over Issei's shoulder at the dish he was preparing. I know, right? Issei turned around to look the fallen angel in the eyes. She's selfish, spoiled, inconsiderate, judgmental, and too persistent. It's definitely annoying. Yet, you let her sleep with you. Raynare's eyebrow shot up. You said it yourself. My ribs were broken. I was in no position to reject magical healing crap. Issei said, flipping an omelette in his pan. And honestly, she's not that bad. Well, you're not exactly perfect yourself, you know. Raynare smirked. You're definitely brash and arrogant. Plus, despite being a battle maniac, you have no combat sense. You let your body take way more damage than you should have, and you fight with no strategy, just using brute force. To be honest, Issei lowered his head in shame as he explained himself. Before yesterday, I had never been in a real fight, one where my life was at stake. I was able to scare off that blonde dude by acting confident and not backing down. In reality, I was a little afraid when I lost the balance breaker and my mind was racing so fast. I wasn't able to focus on my technique. Kinda, but my training was totally useless in a real-life, high-stress scenario. I guess we still have some work to do. Issei says while looking down to his left hand. Man. I don't know if I should be impressed by your toughness and resolve in an uncomfortable situation. Or think you're pathetic for being so ridiculously unprepared. Raynare says while balancing her face on her hand. Hey. Issei shouts in frustration. I was being honest and opening up to you. You don't have to make me feel bad. And that's another thing. Raynare places a finger on her cheek as if she was thinking. You're way too forgiving and trusting. I mean, it worked out for me because I get to live here now, but I tried to kill you, twice. I don't know how many guys would invite me to live with them after I threw a light spear at them. But maybe Raynare shifts her finger so that she is seductively touching her dot. You fell for me after we kissed in the moonlight. The dark-haired girl wrapped an arm around Issei's back, interrupting his cooking. I'm not too sure about that bird breath. Issei smirks, causing the fallen angel to unhand him. So how did you sleep? Is there anything you need to feel more comfortable? I slept okay. If it's not too much trouble, I'd like to decorate my room a bit. Also, there's one other thing. Raynare undid the bow on her and let the white fabric hit the ground, revealing her body. I don't have any clothes. Gulp. Issei looks on at the fallen angel's divine figure as his legs begin to shake. Why yeah. I agree. A small stream of blood began to flow from Issei's left nostril. Later that day. Alright. My grandmother sent me some extra cash so that we could get you something to wear. Issei, who was dressed in his street clothes. His typical red undershirt, but over that he wore an unbuttoned white button-down with a black checkered pattern and black slacks. I'm glad you could find at least one thing to wear. Raynare was wearing the school uniform she had been wearing the night she attempted to kill Issei. A standard white shirt covered by a maroon button-down top with a short green skirt. I look stupid wearing a school uniform on a Saturday. Raynare complains. And these colors totally clash. You're the one who chose that school uniform. Remember, when you tried to kill me? Issei committed. Wow, really mature. Way to act like an adult and let things go. Raynare fired back with sarcasm. You tried to kill me? That's not something you just let go. Issei blurted out. Besides, you don't need to complain. It's not like you'd look bad in anything. Raynare blushed slightly, lucky for her Issei was walking ahead of her and could not see her face. She quickly regained her composure. My. Such a charmer. Nice try, Casanova. You can act like a gentleman, but we both know you like it the most when I'm not wearing clothes at all. Raynare smirked as she referenced the events from earlier. This time it was Issei who blushed. The two made their way to the local shopping center. They pursued the multiple shops until Raynare stopped in her tracks as she looked into a store. Something catches your eye? Issei walked up next to the girl, looking into the store himself. Yeah. Raynare marveled at the vast selection of clothing the store had to offer. There are a ton of cute things in here, but they are all name brands and expensive. In defeat, she slowly began to turn away from the store. Issei grabs the dark-haired girl and begins to lead her into the store. I won't hear anything about cost. Come on, you can have whatever you want. Issei grinned at her, causing her eyes and her face to light up. Raynare immediately got over her reserved cost-cautious mentality as soon as she entered the store. She frantically jumped back and forth from various displays and racks, each time with a different article of clothing in hand. After acquiring all the desired clothes, Raynare made her way to one of the changing rooms, dragging Issei with her. Okay, wait here. I'm gonna try some of these real quick. Alright. Issei agrees. She's so enthusiastic. Who knew she was so into clothes? I have to admit, when she acts like this it's pretty cute. Issei stood silently waiting, feeling pretty awkward about standing alone in a women's clothing store. This awkward feeling would soon amplify as he seemed to be noticed by a few passers-by. Raynare, hurry up. Just give me a second. Raynare spoke from a changing room. I'm just about finished. Issei sat in silence for what seemed like an eternity until Raynare spoke up once again. Okay, here I go. The changing room curtain swung open, revealing the dark-haired beauty inside. Now wearing a jet black top, just short enough to reveal a bit of her pale stomach. Over the shirt was a light pink jacket. Her pants were snow white and perfectly hugged her legs tightly. Well, what do you think? Oh, wow. Issei's eyes lit up as he marveled at the girl's outfit. I guess you like it. Not surprising, really. I am a total knockout. The fallen angel's confidence exploded thanks to Issei's reaction. The only problem is the price tag. I like it. The cost, you're wearing it out. Issei said, obviously still entranced by the girl. Wow, Issei. We've only been hanging out for about 24 hours and you slept for like 13 of those. You were sleeping, but I never would have guessed you'd be so assertive. Raynare wraps her arm around Issei's. To be honest, it's pretty why. Issei looked down at the smiling girl and their eyes met. The world seemed to slow as they stood, locked in an intimate gaze. Everything else faded as the two slowly grew closer and closer. Ahem. Issei and Raynare both broke from their trance as a large male store clerk stood behind them. You two still have to pay for that. Oh, you're right. Issei broke away from the fallen angel and pulled out his wallet. How much do I owe you? As Issei followed the clerk to the register, Raynare stood by herself in the store. She closed her eyes and let out a sad sigh. Hewitt. Whatever. Later. After a long day of shopping, Issei and Raynare came across a brightly illuminated restaurant. Issei's eyes lit up as he looked up at the establishment's name. Whoa, this place is supposed to be extremely popular. All the reviews online are positive. Issei turned around to look Raynare in the eyes. So what do you think? Let's eat here. Raynare lowered her head and didn't take a step forward. Raynare, is something wrong? The dark-haired girl turned away from Issei. Let's just eat at home. Why? Issei walked around the girl so that he could look her in the eyes. Please tell me what's bothering you. It looks like we're on a date. Raynare raised her voice and again turned her head from Issei, not wanting to look him in the eyes. If the two of them went in there together, it would look like a date. And shopping all day didn't look like a date. Raynare, you hand me pick out underwear for you. Issei tried reasoning with the girl, to no avail. That's different. Raynare was getting pretty frustrated with Issei. For the most part today I was in a changing room, so people couldn't see you with me. I'm a fallen angel, we don't go on dates. Guys have taken me to their houses or to hotels, but never out in public. Nobody wants to be seen with a fallen angel in public. I know it looks like there are mostly humans here, but I guarantee that there is some supernatural being here that would see us and know what we are. Then the whole spiritual world would know that the Welsh dragon dares to sully his name by associating with a dirty angel. A small tear falls from the girl's eye as she explains her reasoning. The strong hand envelopes Raynare's as she looks up to meet Issei's glare. Issei begins to escort the dark-haired girl to the door of the restaurant. What are you doing? Didn't you hear me? Issei shifts so that his right arm is draped over Raynare's right shoulder, bringing her in for a half hug. Issei approached the woman in charge of seating. Table for two, please. The woman left to check for openings, leaving the two alone. Issei turned to look at the girl. If you see us, the only thing they're going to think is, wow, the Welsh dragon is one lucky son of a bitch because he's getting to spend his time with a beautiful girl. Issei said, eyes locked onto the girl. Now let's have a nice meal. Later, again. Raynare chuckles softly as she clings to Issei's arm. Hey Issei-kun, tell me I'm beautiful again. What's gotten into you? You're so clingy. Issei looked down to find two bright eyes waiting in nervous anticipation. Issei was helpless against such an attack. Fine. Raynare, I think you're very beau. An unknown scream interrupted Issei, getting the attention of the two. What was that? Issei turned to Raynare. It's me, let's find out. Raynare decided and the two of them rushed towards the sound. The two legged forward to find a fallen nun, face first in the ground, her skirt and flown upwards, revealing her underwear. Raynare's eyes lit up as she saw the girl. Asia. Raynare immediately rushed over to help the girl to her feet. What are you doing out here? I thought you had gotten caught in the church fire. Shit. I almost murdered a nun. Issei's eyes lit up as he thought of what could have been. Raynare-sama. I heard you were the one who died. Asia sat up and removed her hood, revealing long flowing blonde locks. What are you doing out here, dressed like that? And who is this? The blonde shifted her attention to Issei. This is Issei-kun, my boyfriend. Raynare stuttered as she introduced the boy, wondering how the boy would react to her words. We just finished a really nice date. Issei hi-do, nice to meet you. Issei held out a hand to the girl. Is this a friend of yours? Issei said, turning to Raynare. Well, kinda. This is the girl whose sacred gear we were going to remove. Raynare nonchalantly spoke of killing the girl, as if it were normal. Yes, Raynare-sama promised to remove the disgusting curse that plagues me. Asia said, her voice filled with hope and joy. Issei leans over to whisper in Raynare's ear. That's kinda messed up. You know that would kill her, right? I'm not gonna do it now. Raynare whispers back, as if she should immediately be forgiven. Yes, even though Raynare-sama hasn't been around lately, Millet-sama promises me that the operation will continue as planned. Asia smiles. I don't really think that's the best idea, Asia-san. Issei warns the nun. Yeah, you shouldn't trust Millet. She's kind of a psychopath. Raynare continues, unaware of the irony. I'm sorry Raynare-sama, but I have no choice. Asia puts her head back as she prepares to leave. I have to trust Millet-sama. She promised that she would remove this curse and I can return home. It's nice to see you, but I must leave. Hey wait. Issei tried to stop her, but she simply ignored him and walked away. Issei turned to face Raynare. What's up with her? She's an innocent, honest girl. But she is pretty naive and not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Raynare shrugged. Nothing we can do now, you shouldn't interfere anymore. Let's go home. Home? Alright, I'm gonna give Rias a call and let her know about Asia, maybe she can help. I'm also gonna ask if she can enroll you in school. Issei said as he pulled out his smartphone. Wait, you have Princess's number? Raynare raised an eyebrow and sounded rather upset at the mention of Rias. Yeah, why? I mean I have your number too. Issei didn't understand why the fallen angel was so upset. That's different. I live in your house, I'm on your cell phone plan, and you bought me my phone. Your words and your actions contradict. You say you don't like her, but you let her sleep in your bed naked. You say she's annoying, but you have her phone number. You need to make up your mind whether you like her or not. Raynare blew up at Issei, getting in his face. I told you I didn't. I'm not into Rias' Gremory, and if it makes you feel better I'll text her instead. Issei thought that this would end the conversation, but Raynare's face didn't move any farther away. Good, because I think I decided something. Raynare's face kept getting closer and closer, and more of her body began to press against the boy. It's kinda embarrassing, but hear me out. What are you talking about? Issei's focus waved as the soft feminine body of the fallen angel seductively pressed against his. Aren't you getting a bit CL? Issei was cut short as Raynare pressed her pillow against the boy's. MMMPHH. Issei struggled, shocked by the turn of events. The kiss continued for multiple seconds, and Issei began to shift from shock to acceptance. Raynare eventually pulled away from Issei, leaving a small string of saliva between the two mouths. Issei, I like you. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the JCT1345 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.